going on?
Hello,
What's going on?
hello, everybody. We are here with another Stay Hot Live Wednesday with special guests, the two members of Sesh, Logan and Carson, here to talk about the NBA with us because we're lazy and bored and we don't want to do it anymore. So, so yeah, the special guests are not uh, Patrick Beverly, as the chat has speculated, but it's still, I think it's still a pretty good guest. So we're here to talk about the play-ins. I think we should talk about what happened last night before we get into Matt's beloved Hornets tonight. But I'll let you guys kind of take it. Well, what were your takeaways on the play-in games last night? Whoever wants to talk.
I mean, first off, Theo, big fan, honored to finally meet you in person.
Yeah.
I am very disappointed about the fact that this is probably going to be a ripe opportunity for cat slander because I'm a big cat advocate. Make that a term. I think that he is a phenomenally gifted, like all-time offensively talented big man. And there is this pervasive narrative that he's a scared little boy and that he can't live up to the moment. And, people really like to react to small sample sizes. So I think that is going to continue until he actively disproves that. But I don't know. I thought that honestly, both teams out West are pretty darn good. And I think that it's going to be fun seeing what they can both do if the Clippers win with their second game, which I think they should.
Do you think that Cat will disprove that narrative against a
Yes.
paint that has Jaren Jackson Jr. in it and other depth and such?
Yeah, because I mean, he's so remarkably versatile that it's like, that's the thing. A ton of the times he initiates from the perimeter. He gets you with the pump and go. And like a lot of guys can't stay in front of him. And obviously the pure shooting is special. And there's just so many ways to get him involved in an offense. And yeah, I think, he can produce against any matchup really.
Yeah, I thought the game, after Cat went out, I just thought it proved the heart of the T-Wolves. Like, I hate to go with that, but like the T-Wolves are deep. I was glad the role players shine, man. You saw how versatile they are with Cat off the floor. I thought Pat Bev ran his mouth a little much. Like, they were roasting him on Twitter.
No.
He's sipping on the Bud Light after the game in the post-game interview, running his mouth. On the Cat point, guys, I saw one of my friends said that they thought that Cat was going to get compared to. They thought he had the Kirk Cousins gene, and I geeked at that. I think it's apt. I think you're right though. I think he's gonna. For now, bro, what has he done,
dude?
I'm waiting for him to show up in a big moment.
Yeah, but he hasn't had the opportunity.
No one but me and Bladen were there for the great Matt Cat rant of Las Vegas of 2021.
Dude, I'm so. I get, the shooting for a guy his size, but I think the gap between him and those top tier offensive centers is that I feel like you throw a double team at him last night. That was it. And maybe I did think a few times that Timberwolves didn't do enough to help him when he did get those doubles, but I don't know. I thought it's tough to hate on people pushing the Cat is kind of soft narratives or Cat doesn't show up narratives when it's a big moment and then Cat doesn't show up. It's like, well,
yeah, again, I just think it's like we haven't really seen enough opportunities. He's played one playoff series. This is one play-in game that he played 24 minutes in. I don't know. I'm a big believer. He does a lot of things that are really distinct out there. He's one of the best passing bigs in the league, like super creative, pretty ridiculous at times. So I think that if we see him over a full playoff series sample size in the form that he's in right now, he's gonna ball out. I have faith.
If he doesn't ball out, who is the player that you're gonna compare him to? Because I'm thinking maybe maybe I'll call him. I'm trying to think. Willie Cauley-Stein. Maybe I'll call him just
Willie Cauley-Stein with a shot.
I just call him Willie Cauley-Stein with the
I can't allow that.
with good form.
dude?
I'm just trying to workshop what maybe my Cat slander will be if he doesn't go.
If you're
go
going
off.
for an actual comp, dude, the greatest shooting big of all time. Dirk, bro, struggled in the playoffs like nobody else until he finally got his chip. I think that's probably I don't think
I love that comp.
Dirk won an
Yes.
MVP, but I think if you're talking about in terms of early playoff struggle and big moments, Dirk struggled a lot, and that 2011 championship kind of wipes away the We Believe loss, the '06 finals. I think that's probably the closest comp if Cat does not perform well in these playoffs.
I think that's a good point. I think I was listening to a podcast the other day where they were talking about Harden's playoff struggles, and they brought up Dirk as a guy who is like some of the things they brought up articles from before the 2011 about what was being said about Dirk, and they were like, he's better suited to be a sixth man, was what someone said. Like big, like he was absolutely getting killed. So like definitely playoff struggles don't always translate to the future. I mean, we've seen it a bunch. I mean, with Giannis and Chris Paul even last year, and Paul George and all that. So yeah. So Kat, and I thought like D'Lo is kind of the big story for me because he's someone I've been hyping up the whole year as like someone who has quietly become a very good facilitator, as he was kind of a dumbass early in his career, or like somebody who just wanted to jack up shots, it seemed like. And I also think like from a personality standpoint, when it gets in those tough moments, like he's kind of their level-headed guy. And I think you saw that Cat just had the dumbest fouls, man. Like he didn't need to foul out of that game at all. Like 3 of them were just dumb. Patrick Beverley is acting like he just hit a game-winning shot to win the Warriors, the Timberwolves, the chip. So he's kind of like a hothead. And then there's like D'Lo after the game, like, oh, we're supposed to be here. This doesn't mean anything to us. And then Cat's fouled out, and Patrick Beverley is acting like he just won the lottery. So I think like he just from like a personality standpoint and a skill set standpoint is going to be the one who's going to have to kind of like keep the Warriors under control. And he did a really good job at that last night. So that was kind of my big takeaway.
Yeah, and I mean, on the court, like not even just being level-headed in the presser, like on the court, dude, late game, like D'Lo is not afraid to take those big shots, dude. There is no, I mean, yeah, we all know,
He's icy.
Yeah, he is icy. He's got ice in his veins, man. D'Lo is not scared. He's never scared of a big moment. I mean, he's clutch. I think also D'Lo's improved a lot defensively this year too, man. Like, I really do. I think it's a great take, Theo. I mean, he's one of the really under the radar. Like he improved a lot on the second half of the season, and he's going to be a big component, man. They need him to pull his weight because I don't think it's a hot take. I think Minnesota genuinely has a chance maybe not to knock off Memphis, but I think they're going to push it 6 or 7 games. I think it's going to be a feisty series.
Just to substantiate Theo's claim real quick, just on the D'Lo adjustment, pre-All-Star break this year, he was taking like 16 shots a game, and then post-All-Star, it came down to like 13, which is, a pretty sizable difference. And I think that you have seen that adjustment in him towards understanding that he is the third option, but he's a damn good, uber skilled third option who can do it as, really a 3-level scorer and facilitator. And he's tremendously important to like their ability to reach their highest ceiling, which like there were times early in the year and last year where you're like, does D'Lo really matter if he's going to be a net negative defensively and is going to dominate the ball and be pretty inefficient? But when he is playing his best and he is embracing the right role, he's a tremendously skilled offensive player.
Yeah, I agree. And so, the Timberwolves, I think when it does come down to get down to the Memphis series, again, Cat will cars driving by, but like Cat will definitely fuck him.
Yeah, cars.
Cat will definitely have to be more composed than he was in this game and just play better overall. I'm not sure if I'm betting on that. I do think like the interior defense of the Grizzlies and the overall depth and just the overall composure. I saw some take that was like the Timberwolves are acting or playing as if they've already won the finals. The Grizzlies are playing to win that, like they are trying to win it. That's like, I thought like a decent descriptor of the mentality of the team overall that I saw a few weeks ago. And I think like kind of the reaction of the T-Wolves yesterday kind of showed that. I think the Grizzlies are just have a little bit loftier expectations and just more depth. And they have the best player on the court in John Morant. I think they have more depth, and I think they just kind of have a better mindset overall. So that's my take on it. I think the Grizzlies win in 5 or 6.
I am worried for Cat in this series. I think Steven Adams and Jaren Jackson Jr. is a pretty rough matchup when, it's what Nick Batum they're throwing at you.
Right. Zubac.
It's right.
It's that's interesting. My thought is just like, I mean, Triple J is not going to be matched up on him. Triple J could not guard him one-on-one. He's too slender. But like as a help side rim protector, yeah, he's always scary. That guy flies around the court. He's long as hell. But I just like, again, because of how Cat gets his offense, I don't know. I don't think there's many people who can like cover him one-on-one. And like Steven Adams is strong as hell, right? He's super tough to move out of the post, but that doesn't matter for Cat. And like Cat drags him out to the perimeter and like forces him to play out there. Now you're taking a rim protector out of the paint. And again, like Steven Adams just can't affect him. He can get by him. He can obviously shoot over him. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, the Grizzlies are a really good team defense. I think they are very clearly a better team. I think they're better coached. I think they're deeper. I think they're better defensively. I think that they have an incredibly strong identity. And like Theo said, they have the best player on the court. So like, I'm not going to come out here and advocate and say that I think the T-Wolves go like 7, even like Logan said. I think it probably would be 5 or 6, but I do have faith in my boy Cat, and I love Ant. Like obviously he's one of the major stories, but just like truly one of the most exceptional athletes that I think I've ever seen on a basketball court. And so it's going to be fun. I think that they'll make it fun, and it's very good for the T-Wolves franchise to be here, just given what the last 15 years have been.
I didn't see the Bill Simmons controversy. He said, fuck Jalen Green and kept him off his all rookie first team for Herbert Jones.
I love that.
I remember, honestly, I don't think keeping Jalen Green off your all rookie first team is a horrible take, considering that pre All-Star break, he was like really bad and like one of the like least valuable players in basketball. I love Jalen Green. So like saying fuck Jalen Green is probably like a little bit too like, probably shouldn't say that if you have a vote, but I don't know. I don't think that's like the most horrible thing in the world. One time, you know, T-Dog, right, from freshman year Taylor Place, I was getting in an argument with him. I was talking about how Wilt Chamberlain is better than Bill Russell all time. I was getting in this big argument with him. T-Dog left and he went to his dorm and he's like, I have something that can prove you wrong. And he left and he went to his dorm and he got Bill Simmons' basketball book. And he started reading it. It's like, I'm not listening to this. You're trying to push a Celtics player. You wouldn't go got Bill Simmons' book. So whenever I think of Bill Simmons, I think of T-Dog breaking out the Bill Simmons book to push anti-Wilt Chamberlain narratives. But anyway, so that's the T-Wolves. We're all on the Grizzlies. I guess speaking of Herb Jones and the Pelicans, and speaking of the Clippers, we got them tonight. Matt, I know that a couple weeks ago, we picked the Pelicans to make it out of the play-ins, and they've got the opportunity to here tonight, eliminate the Clippers, who we didn't have in the play-ins. Are we feeling the same now, or do we think the Clippers pull it out?
Don't they have to play the Spurs still? Or did I just?
Oh yeah, the Spurs. Oh yeah. Well, do you think they'll beat the Spurs and then play? We keep not talking about the Spurs. I keep forgetting that they're even there. But do you think they'll beat the? Do we think they'll beat the Spurs? And do we? Or I guess Let's talk about. Sorry, Spurs fans. I forget that you're there.
Me picking the Pelicans is totally cope because I want the Hornets to get their first round draft pick. I'd probably like. I know the Clippers are pretty heavy favorites. I'm not dumb, but I think they have at least a fighting shot at it. People talk about the play-in games like they're series, and it's like people feel like, oh, this one's like a for sure lock. It's like, dude, one guy gets hot. What are we talking about? It's a single basketball game. And the Pelicans have a lot of guys who can get hot.
Yeah, I mean, Ben McLemore swung games this year, fellas. Like, yeah, one game, anything can happen. I agree. I think that, the Clippers are heavy favorites and should be. I just think that what they do is so easy night to night. I mean, they went cold in the fourth. They're like 6th in offensive rating with Paul George back. I mean, it's not a no-brainer. You know what I mean? Like the Pelicans are dogs, dude. I mean, they've been one of the best teams post All-Star break. McCollum and Ingram are one hell of an offensive tandem. And shout out Herb Jones, dude. I'm not saying fuck Jalen Green, but dude, Herb is a dog. Like the Pelicans, they go out there and they compete every night. It's a damn shame that Zion was not back for the second half of the season because I think this would be a really interesting team. I just think they'd be complete with Zion on the floor. I would give them a fighting chance though. Like the Pelicans and Clippers, I'm going to dismiss the Spurs. I don't care. I think there's no chance they beat the Pelicans. I will write them off. I think Pelicans Clippers is going to be a lot of fun, and yeah, I think it's up in the air. I thought the Clippers were a no brainer to make it in, but they're in crisis mode right now, dude.
Yeah,
I do like. Go ahead, Carson.
Well, I will say, I don't think you can write any team off in a single game format, like Matt said, just because there's so much variability in any given basketball game. But I will say the Spurs are very poorly equipped to like pull off any sort of upset because they don't have dynamic shooting. There's not really one thing they do exceptionally well. I don't really believe there's like, as good as DeJounte has been post All-Star break, and he's been great, like that takeover, like just bona fide best player on the floor kind of guy. But yeah, the Pelicans have been top 10 team on both ends post All-Star break. They are really gelling. I still think though, the Clippers just like the level they're able to get to defensively, and then the shot creation they have with PG and now Norm back and the shooting around them. It just feels like the team that we saw, finish off the series against the Jazz without Kawhi. They could very easily just be a better version of that team now because Norm is just a better second creator than Reggie Jackson, even when he was balling out. And I just think the Clippers are a damn good team. And because of their shooting, they could probably scare somebody a little bit in a first round series, but the Pelicans could get out. I would not bet on it though.
Yeah, and I guess the one wild card with the Spurs is Popovich. I mean, how many days has he had to prepare for this game? It's probably like 2 or 3, right? And, I think one reason why, football is a little bit more like when you get a week to prepare for something, like I think about college football as the example, and like the playoffs, it's tough for upsets to happen there because when you get like someone like Saban with like a month to prepare, it's just almost unbeatable when they have that long to think of a plan. And then if it's Popovich with like a couple days to plan against one team, I do think like, and it's the Pelicans. And I think like maybe Popovich is the wild card and the Spurs. I mean, I looked at the Spurs at the beginning of this year and I thought they might be the worst team in basketball. Like with looking at their roster, I'm like, wow, DeJounte Murray's really their number one guy. And I like DeJounte Murray now, but like, yeah, I think Pop is just always, yeah, unfortunately for me, I do not know the name of the New Orleans Pelicans coach. So
Willie
that
Green.
could be on me, but Willie Green. Okay. Maybe Willie Green. I'm not going to sit here and like slander Willie Green or anything or say he's like a bum, but like Pop is Pop. So that's the one reason where it's like, okay, maybe the Spurs always seem to do a little bit better than even like the post Duncan era when they just have not had all that much talent. They're still hanging around. So that's the only thing.
We briefly talked about this on Nerd Sesh. I think in a scenario like this, like the Spurs shouldn't even be here, bruh. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like they do not deserve. I agree, Theo. I think you're right. Like the Spurs' defensive identity that didn't go anywhere. Yeah, give them a shot. But I think a lot of the things. The biggest thing to me is what Carson laid out. The DeJounte Murray factor. Like DeJounte is really talented. Some dude in the comment section just said he was the next MJ. I think he might be a little high on that. A little high on DeJounte. He's Westbrook with elite defense. DeJounte's still like below league average. Like true shooting and scoring, like he's just not an efficient scorer yet. And I agree that they don't have elite shooting. They don't have takeover scorers. So I think it's an uphill battle. I'd give him a shot. I genuinely think that we need to change the play-in format though. Like the Spurs should not be in this. They should not even be playing for a spot in the playoffs. They don't deserve to be here.
How would you change it?
Carson, you want to lay out your plan?
Yeah, I think that they should do what they did in the bubble, where it gets triggered by if you're within 2 or 3 games. Like in the East this year, I think the play-in is sick. I think that every team absolutely deserves to be there. You have 4 real quality teams separated by 1 game. That's great. You should not have a world, though, in which you play 82 games of basketball. One team, like the Timberwolves, is 12 games better than another, like the Spurs, and theoretically the Spurs could have gotten into the playoffs and the Timberwolves could have missed it this year. Like that just sucks. I think that that's completely devaluing the regular season to an extent that is like kind of mind blowing. If it's close, I think the play-in's super fun, but I think that this year out west is an example of when it just doesn't make sense.
I don't know. I think for all the value that it puts on, like, or takes away from being a 7 or 8 seed, it puts on being a 6 seed. So I don't know if it takes away. Also, I feel like the gap between what the Spurs have to do and what the Timberwolves have to do to make the playoffs is big enough.
Win
So
one game versus
fun.
2 games, though. And I mean, it's like what we were talking about. Crazy stuff happens in basketball games. You shoot 18 of 35 from 3, you're going to win that game. Any team can do that on any given night. So I don't know. That potential just scares me because, like, I would have been so bummed the T-Wolves didn't make it this year. And if the Spurs snuck in, like barely got past the miserable Lakers last second, and then all of a sudden, you know, they have a chance to, I mean, they would get blown out in any playoff series. That just wouldn't feel right to me.
I can see that a little bit where it's like a certain criteria has to be met. I would just be concerned if it was just one team that met the criteria and they didn't have a second team to play. Like with it seems like
8-9 playing
fair,
like
fair
in the
enough,
bubble.
I guess that's fair. So yeah, I don't know. I don't hate that idea for sure. I don't hate the play-ins either. I mean, it's good basketball. It's fun. So it is unfair, though. It would be unfair. It's to have a situation where, you know, a team with well below 500 gets in over a team well above 500. So, yeah, I can see that a little bit. I think Ja Morant doesn't meet the criteria for MIP, says this comment. I don't think that's like a horror. Ja's a weird most improved player because, like, he was really good last year. Like, he was just went from like very good to great instead of the usual like mid to very good. I don't know.
Isn't that the most valuable leap you can take though?
I guess.
Like, I don't know. His scoring's up 8 a game. His efficiency's up like 4 points in true shooting percentage. He's improved from deep. He has somehow gotten even better at getting into the paint and finishing around the rim. And the floater is like even more prominent in his game now. I feel like he is a very strong candidate. And there are other really good guys, but nobody else really took that leap from like okay to true stardom. Like, as much as I love the Jordan Pooles of the world, actually, I mean, Garland took a leap from very good to like star level, but I don't know. Ja just has such a more substantial leap in raw production.
I mean, we're talking about like, I mean, what Garland was good, Jordan Poole did was good. Ja Morant wasn't an all-star last year, and he is a guaranteed lock for all NBA. So I did like a thing where I voted for my stuff with some other TikTok people, and I had Ja Morant winning most improved player.
I thought you had an interesting point that we talked about on the podcast where DeRozan gets absolutely no hype for most improved player, but he may have taken like a very similar jump that Ja took from last year to this year, which I think is interesting because he's been in the past, but he's also taken like one of the biggest leaps from last year to this year in kind of a similar way that Ja did. And he would obviously never win most improved player. I don't even think he's on the ballot, but Matt, we talked about it on the podcast the other day. I thought that was like an interesting take. Not that I would vote for him, but a perspective that I was like, that's interesting that DeRozan kind of fits the same thing. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's in a much better situation. Yeah, 100%. To add on to the Ja points, I mean, he's the first guard since like the stats started being tracked like for locations and scoring on the court. He's the first guard in NBA history to lead the league in points in the paint per game. You talk about the floater improvement, all that. Yeah, I think Ja's a no-brainer guy. I think Garland was probably second for me. Garland took a massive leap, and then I'd have like the Maxis, the Heroes, the Cole Anthonys of the world up there. I love me some Cole Anthony, but yeah, I think it was Ja. I think he was the only guy that took a superstar leap. What about like you guys have any love for like Miles Bridges or like anybody like that?
I do have some love for Miles Bridges because I'm a Hornets fan, but I think that he should not win most improved player or really isn't in the running because he actually started playing like this the back half of last year.
Yeah.
And if you look at the averages, it'll be like, oh, he went up 8 points a game or something like that. And all this stuff because, you know, they put up the counting stats. But I think really he hit his stride like this last year. And now this is the first season where he's putting it all together. He has gotten a lot better, but I wouldn't vote him for most improved player.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really interesting debate because I remember even in the early goings of this year when I thought Bridges was like a front runner, it's like It's a great question because do you look at a guy's overall body of work for the year, or like do you look at the player who he was for the last 20 games when he's dropping 20 a night super efficiently and like was just balling out all around? So, I mean, I think in terms of skill development, where he was at the beginning of last year compared to now, just his versatility offensively, I think he's a really unique player just in terms of he can be such a dynamic roll man, cutter, he can create an isolation, spot up shooter, all that stuff. But I don't know, just probably the fact that he didn't shoot the ball as well from deep this year, honestly, just holds back his efficiency a little bit. But if not, I think he would be a stronger candidate. But that is an interesting dilemma, like, because it's like, I don't know, you compare, like, take Ant this year. I don't think second year guys should really ever win it, but it's like Ant's overall body of work last year is like, it's good for a rookie, obviously, but like wildly inefficient. But then post All-Star break, he was putting up 25 a game on solid efficiency. So it's like, where does the most improved factor in with that? It's tough.
What do you guys think about Miles Bridges getting the max this offseason?
So what is his max? Like 30? Because he doesn't have any all NBA stuff or anything, obviously.
Yeah, it would probably be the standard deal. What, like it's like 173 million over 5.
Yeah.
And then it flexes to like 210 with an all NBA, but then at that point, who cares?
Yeah.
He's a Piston, sadly. He's
Sad
going
for
back to
anybody who's a
Detroit.
Piston.
He's going back to Detroit to win the Pistons a chip with Cade Cunningham is what's happening. Whereas the Hornets are getting Rudy Gobert, who will shut down the league again. I don't know.
I think Bridges is a fringe-ish max guy. I think that's a lot. I think that's probably too much. And it's tough because, like, obviously you want to retain him. And I mean, I do think he's like a borderline star level guy offensively. And I love his malleability. And if he shoots the ball again, like he shot it last year, then yeah, that's like a pretty great all around offensive weapon. But I don't know, like, if that ends up being the outlier year, because every other year he's been like around 33% from deep. So I think that's probably a little bit too much, but I wouldn't be like, that's a disaster. I just wish you were a higher impact two-way kind of guy, I guess, like if I were going to pay him that kind of money. Whereas I feel like really a vast majority of his value is offensively.
Would you rather pay Miles Bridges or John Collins? I mean, Collins already got his money, but
yeah, Miles Bridges.
Miles Bridges. I think the Hornets would be stupid to let him walk. I can't even imagine. Like, they'd be going back to square one essentially, and they're kind of in a lose-lose because I mean, inevitably when, you know, if they let him walk, people are going to be like, oh, look, you didn't give LaMelo any help. But if they sign him to the max, which is what it's probably going to cost, it's going to be an overpay. But I think that he's a borderline all-star, and those type of guys coming off a rookie deal usually get the max. And it's a little bit of a risk, because you don't know, but it's hard to build a contending team without taking risks. And this is easily the best opportunity the Hornets have, I think.
Speaking of the Hornets, they do play a basketball game tonight. Last year, they played a basketball game at around the same time and lost by 40 to Sabonis and the Pacers. How do you let that happen? Will this year be any different, Matt, or will they once again get blown out of the water by the Atlanta Hawks in the Trae-in game?
I think they win.
Really?
I think they win.
No, you don't.
Really?
No, you don't.
I think they
you
win.
don't think they win.
I think they win.
You think they lose. You think you're just saying that. Why do you think they win? What will be the X? Who will be the X factor? Who is
LaMelo's nice, man.
He's been on a tear recently.
Dude, he's been ridiculous recently.
Plumlee 40 piece.
Plumlee 40 piece on Clint Capella. I can see it, man. I don't know. Like it's tough to say because Trae, when it's a 50-50 game, usually just bet on the best player in the game, and it's Trae Young. And I am a big Trae Young guy, but like I really want the Hornets to win. So I'm quite torn. I mean, I think the Hornets have, like, you know, outside of Trae, I think the Hornets have more offensive options than Atlanta. I think neither of these teams can defend at all. So it's a super weird game. And it's probably going to, I don't want to be this lame, but like, it's probably just going to come down to whichever team gets some guy really, really hot at the right time. It's like, is Kelly Oubre going to drop 20 or something? Can we get something like that going? It's a single game. I don't know. I'm pretty nervous for it though, because with how Ant played yesterday, if LaMelo comes out and plays bad, I can't go on Twitter.
We got an over of 235.5 points in this game. That's pretty crazy. That's expecting basically a 117 to 120 type of game.
I think I take
the over.
Yeah. The only thing that concerns me and where I feel like there may be a bit of a gap right now, I mean, the Hornets have been unbelievable offensively as of late. The Hawks have been unreal offensively all year because they have Trae Young and guys who complement him well. But I do think the Hawks have reached a higher ceiling defensively. Like, they were so bad for so much of the year, but personnel wise, it's like we saw it in the playoffs last year. Their defense was every bit as important as their offense. And those pieces have started to come together more to where they've been like average over their last 15 games or so on that end. And I feel like that's probably enough for them. But this is a shootout, up and down, all offense kind of game. And I think it's going to be really fun. Probably the most exciting play-in matchup to me.
Yeah, I think so too, Brian. It's like Chiefs Bills, man, or something like that. Where it's just going to be a shootout, dude. It's going to be a track meet. Your Hawks have been 11th in defensive rating over the last 15. The Hornets have been second in offensive rating, just behind the Celtics, 122.5. Like, dude, I don't know. I think Matt's right. I think it's going to be whoever gets hot in this game. And
yeah, I mean,
I think both teams have the weaponry. Like the Hornets, Scary Terry can get hot, man. Kelly Oubre can get hot. Bogey could get hot.
Kelly Oubre can always get hot. Kelly Oubre is always hot.
Oubre
He's always hot. Yeah, he
stays hot.
He stays hot.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, but yes.
And, Isaiah Thomas could always have a 20-piece. He could be the guy for us. But it's funny. I haven't been like a big Isaiah Thomas needs another spot in the league, dude. And then he comes to the Hornets and plays good enough to at least
ball don't stop
be on
vindicated.
The team. Yeah.
Would you rather have him or Ish? Big questions.
It's. I'd rather them play book night, but
oh yeah, of course, dude.
I have a soft spot for Ish. That's my guy. I like watching him play.
Fun.
So
he had some fun games this year.
He had some. Yeah, I don't know.
There's so
probably
weird,
again. They should probably just play book night, right?
And whoever wins this game gets the luxury or the rights, the privilege to play the Cleveland Cavaliers. Logan, what were your thoughts on the Cavs versus that Nets game? That was a crazy game for a lot of reasons. What were your kind of main takeaways of the Cavs or I guess the Nets? I don't care what you talk about, but just go into that game that happened yesterday.
He really doesn't care that much.
I don't care what you talk about.
He's probably not even listening.
I mean, dude, the Nets are scary, dude. You just saw the closing ability of Brooklyn, and I mean that's the appeal, right? KD and Kyrie, like they're the two best closers in basketball, and it's gonna be tough. I was impressed with the Cavs coming back, dude, and how they were able to slow Brooklyn down. Like Carson and I were watching that, and we like just wrote them off. We were like, yeah, this game's done in like the first quarter. Like we just thought it was a wrap. So for Cleveland to get that game close, I was impressed. Lauri Markkanen shit the bed, dude. Like if Markkanen shows up, like I think the Cavs have a real shot at winning this. And that's a volatility of Cleveland. Like with all their injuries, they haven't been at the same defensive peak. And then you really need a guy like Lauri Markkanen to step up. They don't have a whole lot of shooting on this team.
And LeVert too was like pretty awful. And Kyrie was cooking everybody, but yeah.
Kyrie couldn't miss, dude.
Kyrie he missed his last 3 shots. Sadly, he can't close that choker.
There's a lot of Hornets
3
fans
or over 3 when it mattered.
Who think that like if we beat the Hawks, it's a given we're beating the Cavs. I really don't think it's not a bad matchup. I'm not gonna lie, but anytime the other team has a big over 7 feet tall or like a Mobley or whatever, 30-point game is a threat, dude.
And the Cavs wanted to go with 3 bigs on the court at the same time in the Nets game, and they couldn't quite get to it. But against the Hornets, maybe they could, and that would probably be bad for the Hornets since their interior is bad. I was really impressed with Claxton in this game for the Nets. Obviously, like going into the Nets, everyone is like, okay, they can score, but they can't stop anything. And I thought part of it was on, maybe Markkanen having a bad game, but Claxton was kind of a beast in the paint. And early in the game, they tried to take it to the rack a bunch of times, and they just kept getting denied and went down by 20. And then obviously you saw the focus on them kind of shift. Like, we are just getting too focused on the basket. We need to, pass a little bit more. And then they started to work their way back. But I was really impressed with Claxton. And if the Nets can actually play some half decent defense like they were doing for stretches of the last game, that gets real questionable, like really fast if you're playing them with the star power that they've got. But I was impressed with Claxton for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, if Brooklyn gets out of that first round too, against Boston, if they get out of the first round, I mean, Claxton's going to be huge and instrumental in a matchup against like Giannis. Like, I mean, he was kind of the guy that they picked out and singled out as, this is going to be the guy that we need to rely on to slow him down. I don't know if Blake's that guy. Blake did a good job last year on him.
Simmons, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would put my life. I would genuinely on Stay Hot right now. I will put my life on Ben Simmons not being in the playoffs.
Brody, you could die. There's a pretty solid chance. People are reporting that you would die, and I don't want to be the one to have to cut your head off, but I will.
I don't get it. It's like Simmons, talented, but definitely one of those guys who are like tough to fit into the team system. So anyway, we're going to bring him back first game in the playoffs again after he did terrible in the playoffs. I can't imagine he comes back either.
But he's walking around like he's Michael Jordan.
He's walking around like he's Michael Jordan. Maybe Michael Jordan Jr., maybe the second one who flamed out. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Simmons, yeah, I don't know what to think about him. He is someone that I think I've said it before, I actually really like that the Nets got him. I think that he could be more useful to them than Harden could be, because they don't really need like another scorer. They do need some defense. So like, I kind of like that trade when it happened, but man, it's tough to rely on Simmons right now. So who knows?
I mean, dude, he's genuinely the final piece. Like, the Nets are so well-rounded. You have, these immaculate floor spacers who are so efficient in Seth Curry and Patty Mills. Like, you've got the two top dogs in KD and Kyrie. Literally all you need is another defensive asset, like you said, Theo. And I think he really is the X factor. If Ben Simmons is back for the series against Boston, which I think is hilarious. If he's back, I'd give him a swinging chance, but I might even pick Brooklyn to win that, even though Boston has still been super hot. They need him. Brooklyn will not be getting out of that first round without Ben Simmons.
I'd agree, because we saw just master classes from Kyrie and KD, and they ended up beating the Cavaliers by 7-8, something like that. To take the hottest team in the league, even if they are missing Williams, like, you would need, they just don't have the depth or the defense right now, in my opinion, as good as Claxton played and everything. The Celtics, like, they've got star power too. And again, we just saw like an absolute, it's incredible that the Nets played like they did, or at least the top two played like they did, and it wasn't a blowout. So I don't think that it was, I know the Nets will be a popular pick. The Celtics versus Heat is my Eastern Conference Finals, and once the Celtics get past the Nets, I'm going to feel really good about it. So that's I'm taking the Celtics in probably like 6. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting if Simmons is back, just because then personnel wise, I mean, you think about the Nets defensive deficiencies, the Celtics aren't really going to exploit that. Like, they're so dependent on the wing bucket getting of Jalen and Tatum. And it's like the Nets would have one exceptional defensive wing in Simmons, and then a guy who's pretty good when he's engaged in KD. And so, like, you're not getting crushed by the fact that their point of attack defenders against like an elite guard would be Kyrie and Seth Curry. Like, that doesn't really matter there. And then there isn't like the dynamic athletic big who's going to punish them in the paint. So I don't know. I think that would be close to a toss-up, but like the shot making of KD and Kyrie and the shooting of Seth and Patty, like, alone is really scary. And I really, really wish that Joe Harris was healthy, because
that's what I think too. They have got some ridiculous spacing.
I
with
mean, like
Harris
that,
and
they could
Curry
have played
and
the
Mills.
greatest shooting lineup ever. Though KD, Kyrie, Joe Harris, and Seth out there, I don't care who else is on the floor. That is the greatest shooting lineup ever. And so it's a bummer that we don't get to see that.
You got to put Drummond out there to counteract it and bring it down.
Yeah.
bring it down. Drummond
Yeah,
played
bring
kind of
things back
nice, though,
to
although KD was giving him some of the easiest buckets you'll ever see.
Drummond
KD's
kills
play.
me, man.
Mhm.
Yeah, Drummond's
Kyrie,
been fine this whole year.
Yeah.
Good even in his role. It's just about like making sure he knows what the hell he's out there to do and not letting him have a single post touch ever.
He's out there to
It
throw
is
behind the back
gross.
passes, bro.
He thinks he's so nice, dude. It is wild.
Yeah. Speaking of inefficient big men, one of my favorite quotes of the season came from Doc Rivers the other day when the reporter was talking about DeAndre Jordan, and then he was talking about like how when there's a big five, they're gonna play Jordan, and it's just such a bad idea. And it's just like that quote, if they were to lose to the Raptors, which I don't think is impossible, that like press conference is okay. If DeAndre Jordan plays a lot of minutes and they lose to the Raptors, which probably has like a 45% chance to happen, Doc Rivers is cooked in his league. Like that's the final nail in the coffin. That would be so funny. That's what I'm rooting for.
Even if the Sixers get past the Raptors, series against the Miami Heat could go very poorly as well. Doc has been
The Sixers are
exposed
so talented,
several
though.
times. That's what kills me. It's like I don't have the guts to really come up here and be like the 76ers just have like, they're going to go fail this round because they
Yeah.
really are talented. I'm not as low on Harden as maybe NBA Twitter is right now. And, Embiid obviously is having like an MVP level season, but dude.
I would take the Sixers over the Heat right now. I just have far too many concerns about the consistency of the Heat's offense. And I genuinely think that like the Sixers have 4 real high impact guys when things are going. And like, it's just about Harden not messing it all up, dude. And like, I know everybody loves being as anti-Harden as possible, but it's like, come on, man. Like when he's at his best, I mean, he's an unstoppable offensive force paired with another unstoppable offensive force with insane third and fourth options and quality shooting and a good two-way group overall. And it's like, that's terrifying. I know that we haven't seen it nearly enough, but I don't know. The Heat to me are so sketchy in some ways that like
at the end of the day, James Harden is an Arizona State Sun Devil. And we know that at the end of the day, ASU will prevail.
Yes.
Over
Theo.
No weapon formed against us shall prosper.
Dude, Philly's sketchy, man.
I'm telling you.
I don't know.
They
Like
are.
the series against the Raptors scares me. The series against Miami scares me. I don't know, Carson. That's a tough dilemma, dude. Miami
Can
versus
the Raptors
Philly.
really reach a high enough ceiling offensively to beat the Sixers, though?
No, but
I feel like that would
They can
require a
push them
Sixers
6,
collapse.
I think.
Oh, yeah, sure. That's fine.
It would require a Sixers collapse. And Doc Rivers has
Certainly that won't happen, though.
never presided over a collapse. Nick Nurse versus Doc Rivers is just such a funny matchup, though. It's like literally the best versus perhaps the most.
I mean, he's going to have to go up
stubborn.
against 2 of the best coaches in the NBA if he wants to get to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yes, which is
Yeah.
will be interesting. I kind of view Doc Rivers on like Mike McCarthy at this point. Won a title in like 2010, and then just the career was defined by playoff chokes since then. I'm never going to bet on Mike McCarthy, and I have my doubts about Rivers as well. And I know that like Raptors Twitter after he had that thing where he was like, if we're going up against a big 5, you'll see DJ, and if we're going against a small 5, we will see. Oh, what is the other guy? Paul Reed. We will see Paul Reed. And then all the Sixers were like, well, certainly against the Toronto Raptors, we will be seeing no DeAndre Jordan then.
Yeah.
So, which would be smart because he sucks, but I don't know if Doc will actually commit to not playing him. But
G League.
I mean, the Raptors don't have a guy over 6'9" on their roster.
Not one, not on their whole roster.
I don't think so.
Siakam 6'9".
Kim
Yeah,
Thompson,
Boucher,
6'9".
like,
Oh yeah,
Scotty,
OG.
6'9".
Yeah, he's 6'9". OG. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm looking at it now. There's not a single 6'10" guy. But I mean, obviously they have like aggregate length and size and athleticism, but there isn't the one guy.
I believe I looked up the numbers. Embiid shoots like 39% against the Raptors over the last 2 seasons.
Because they're scary, because they can swarm, they can double quickly, and guys recover, and there's just a lot of length, and like Embiid is still not gonna be comfortable getting like just attacked like that at a high volume. You know, like he's fine passing out of doubles now, but that's still the best way to go after him. So it's like they're going to make him work, and that's just their identity, and that's just Nurse. He's just going to be creative, and I think it could be a bit of an adjustment period. But again, I just feel like the talent deficit, as impressive as the Raptors are, and they are damn impressive, but it just feels like a lot. And I'm honestly kind of surprised by how many people are trending towards like the Raptors could really beat them. Cause I'm like, I don't know, man, that just has to be really anti-Philly, I feel like.
I don't know, dude. Theo makes a really good point. I just looked it up. I mean, against the Raptors since 2020, Embiid is putting up 19, 12, and 3 on 36, 20, 82 splits. Like he's played genuinely
They guard him
horrible
well.
against Toronto. Again, I wouldn't pick it, but I mean that's a really good point, Theo. Like he only has 230 pieces, and he's had some pretty bad
Yeah.
games against them.
Yeah, shout out Raptors, because I wondered aloud on Twitter, like, well, that's probably a bad draw for the Raptors because no one on that team they have just no big bigs. So it's like Embiid is probably a bad draw for them. But Raptors Twitter quickly and efficiently let me know that I'm a dumbass. I'm a dumbass, and they own Embiid. So I looked it up, and they were kind of right. No Tybal in Toronto.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, so it's setting up to be kind of a dangerous series for the 76ers for sure. I'm kind of, I don't know if I'm picking the Raptors, but it is a little bit of a trap. It kind of seems like they could be walking into a really, really tough situation. But
You guys have as your MVP.
Jokic.
Yeah.
I've been saying Jokic since the first couple weeks of the year, and I have stood by it. I'm a big, big, big Jokic advocate. I think he's the greatest offensive big man that we have ever seen in the history of basketball. And I think he's probably the best player alive right now.
I do not think that's a bad take. I think it's either him or Giannis, but he's 1 or 2 for me.
Yeah, that's my top 2 as well. I just think it's like the conversation to me for best offensive player alive is like damn near over. Like I think the only argument against him is kind of two-way value where Giannis would surpass him. But I don't know.
But like
It
he's
is
not
close.
actually that bad on defense.
No, he's not. He's
really.
a good regular season defender. Like he plays hard. He can drop. He plays hard, but it's just like, you know, when you're talking about elite two-way guys like the Giannis's, Embiid's, other guys in like the top 5 conversation, Jokic can be exploited. Like what the Suns did to him last year, where he is still dropping when they're setting screens 15 feet out and it's just mid-range layups. It's like he can be, you know, he's still he's lumbering. He's a lumbering big fella, but offensively, I mean, like we've never seen anything close. He is one of the great ceiling raisers ever. Like to do what he's done at this volume where nobody's ever averaged even 25, 13, and 6 before, and he's doing 27, 14, and 8 pretty much. And on 66% true shooting, he's the 4th guy to ever score 27 a game on 66% true shooting. He plays so many different roles. And the Nuggets this year were literally a better team with him on the floor than the Bucks were with Giannis or the Sixers were with Embiid. Like, it's just unbelievable. And his second best player was Aaron Gordon. And his second leading scorer for most of the year was Will Barton. It's just like unreal. And I don't know why people don't acknowledge it.
I really think what's so impressive about his defense even being passable is that pretty much any other player in this position, you would expect them to be terrible on defense, and you wouldn't blame them because any guy doing that much on offense, understandably so. A defense is like, what, 50% just energy, how much you put into it. Okay, well, Jokic has to do more on offense than probably any other player in the league. So if he was, I remember like with LeBron, you see it happen all the time, and he's older, I guess, but every time you see these, 2019 or this year, it's like, oh, here's him not getting back on defense. And I'm not saying there's no, 100% excuse for that, but that happens when you have to carry the offense, and you're seeing Jokic kind of overcome that.
I was just going to say, like, the load that he has taken on this year, though, is so overwhelming in part because of that. And like Mike Malone talked about the last couple weeks of the year, he's just like, he's gassed. And I don't know. He's a 285-pound ground-bound man who was like had to carry the entire team, literally fills every role, dude. Initiates from the perimeter so much, obviously dominates out of the post, scoring, facilitating. And it just sucks to me that it's like, yeah, cool, he'll win his MVP and people will be like, let's acknowledge the greatness of Jokic and he'll have all these statistical accolades. But like in the scheme of things, for a guy who was in the conversation for best player in the world at 27 years old, it's kind of a wasted year. Like they never had a chance. They never had a prayer in hell because without MPJ and Jamal, there's just no way they can reach the ceiling that they need to. And like, that's what kind of bums me out, even as incredible as he is and as much of a joy as it's been to watch him.
Well, I think he will end up winning the MVP.
Yeah,
luckily.
I agree.
And I don't think they really wanted to give it to him, but like there's just, it's so hard to argue against when you see how close he's gotten to where the Bucks and the 76ers are with far less help.
I believe like he individually has more wins than Giannis and Embiid because he's played more games. So like the wins argument doesn't even make sense because he has more, or he's played in more than the other two while being all the other stuff. So,
and a better per possession plus minus. Like the team success argument is asinine. And even if you were going raw wins, the difference is
it's
3.
It has to be seeding, but then Jokic is also the 4 seed, and that's super low for an MVP too. So I don't know.
The seeding thing is like, I understand the historical precedent. Sorry, Logan. Just let me, you know how passionate I am about
it. Logan's been like about to talk like 5 straight things.
I just think to look at seeding instead of wins, to look at anything instead of what to me is the most valuable metric, which is what is the team's what is the team's plus minus when the guy is actually on the court. It is not Jokic's fault that their depth was decimated this year because he didn't have a second and third best players and their bench is incompetent. Like you control what happens when you are out there. Right. And there are just so many better metrics than seeding, like archaic. Logan, go ahead.
I was just going to open the floor. I wanted to know who would you guys take as the second best offensive player on the planet? Because I do think it is Jokic by a mile. Who's number 2 to you guys?
KD, I would say.
Agree.
Based.
Yeah, I'd say it's KD. I think Curry is up there. I'd like to. I'm a little bit
probably number 2. But not this year's Steph.
Curry has just been since he broke the 3-point record, which was a long ass time ago. I just don't know. I need to see him get his mojo back a little bit before I'm definitely down to rank him high because I love Steph, but I got to go with KD. I just think that he's nice. I don't know. He's Kevin Durant. Everyone knows the argument why it's Kevin Durant. It's not like I'm presenting any new information here.
I thought you made a good point earlier, though, Theo. I mean, he had 16 assists the other night. Like, KD's playmaking is on another level. I think he's genuinely one of the most underrated passers in the league. And 2, like I said, I just limited this offense, dude. I think KD's defense is genuinely
underrated. Yeah, he had a couple really nice plays the other day.
Yeah.
And he just has some plays where he got like they were playing him towards the baseline super heavy, but then they also had Mobley waiting down inside the paint, so there was just nowhere for him to go, and it's like, okay, they've got this bottled up, and he just shoots it anyway.
Doesn't matter.
Goes in. It's like, okay. Yeah.
Most unaffectable shot ever. I mean, he is I think you could make a very, very strong argument for him as greatest scorer of all time. If he's not in the top 2, then I disagree. And like, I do honestly still wonder. I did a top 5 players in the NBA list earlier this year, and I had Giannis over KD, but then I thought to myself, and I'm like, of course the 2-way value is what's probably favoring Giannis there. But like, if it really push came to shove, I don't know, dude, I'd be conflicted because there's just an element of control with KD where it's like, there is no scheme. There is nothing you can do because when he is, I mean, if he decides he's going to go get a bucket, he's going to go get a bucket. And Giannis, like as dominant athletically as he is, you know, there's still certain matchups. I mean, you have to help a ton. Like you have to try ridiculous stuff. Like obviously we saw the building the wall, and even that is tough to replicate. So it's not like Giannis is a guy you can just go out there and stop. But I do feel like there's a different element of helplessness still with KD in any matchup. Nobody can affect him on the planet. There is no wing defender, which
I
is
think
just
my
crazy.
thing with Giannis, maybe this isn't like fair, but a big part of being like that top player, I think it's just the stamina of it, being able to do it. That's like go 100% deep into the fourth quarter on both ends. And Giannis has that knee problem, and he could have gone out and people would have said, oh, yep, you just got to be healthy. And they just weren't healthy. That's just a bad break. Health is like half of winning a championship. But he's able to come back and play tough and have, 40-point games and make big defensive plays in the fourth quarter. That type of durability. Maybe that's not a fair way to put him at number one because it's not really an on the court thing, but it is. So I think that's his big thing. That's part of the reason why it's like the gap between people are like, oh, well, LeBron hasn't lost like a step. And obviously he has, but that's really the big thing that LeBron's lost is that he can't do it 100% of the time. He can't do it all the time like Giannis can now.
One thing about Kyrie. Go ahead, Logan. Go ahead.
I don't know, man. I mean, you make a really good point, dude. I mean, I feel like that narrative has kind of been shoved to the side with KD. Like, I just don't feel like we appreciate him enough at this point. It's like, yeah, he had Harden for a little bit, but Harden really wasn't himself this year. Kyrie was barely out there. Like, KD has, I mean, pulled this team up by his bootstraps and carried them to this point in the season. Like, I just feel like it hasn't been talked about enough. Yeah, he missed some time out too around the All-Star break, but it's like, I mean, this is a heavy KD carry job. And I think I don't know. I'm trying to think. This might be more impressive to me. I don't know about you guys than like his MVP season. I still think peak KD is Warriors playoff, like 2017, 2019 KD. But this is maybe the most impressive regular season KD, if you don't count the time that he missed out, that maybe we've ever seen.
He's had what, 3 50-point games this year, if I remember right, which is more than anyone else has had doing it at this age. And he's missed a couple games as well. So I don't hate the take. I think like if you're talking MVP hierarchy, yeah, he might be definitely above maybe DeRozan and maybe even Booker. So yeah, no, he's ridiculous. He's probably number 2. I think I have the comment here that Kyrie's could be up there and he'd be considered the best point guard in the league if he was healthy, which I don't think is a horrible take. But my take on Kyrie is that he is a shooting guard, not a point guard.
Oh, 100%.
He is the best shooting guard in the league. I don't care what he's listed as, but yeah, that's my only thing. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, a little more KD love. The Nets are 37-19 when he plays this year. Like, it's pretty remarkable just given what their final record is. Like,
yeah, what does that make their record without him then?
They had like 43 wins then.
Yeah, I think that now counting the play-in, they're 8-19 without him.
Oof.
And 37-19 with him. Like, that's unreal.
That is unreal.
Value.
Yeah. Well, let's see. We've got to out here in about 3 minutes. So this is probably about the natural place to wrap up unless we go, maybe quick run through some of the other series that we know and our picks for all of them. So quickly, I guess we can run through these starting from the top. I guess we don't know who the Suns are playing yet. We don't know who the Heat are playing yet, but the 2 seeds
in both.
The 8 seeds are winning both. Yeah, I think we can assume that whoever goes, the 1 seeds are going to win. 2 seeds we talked a little bit about Nets Celtics. I got Celtics in like 6.
Agreed.
Any dissent?
Until we hear news about Ben Simmons, I agree.
Okay.
Go Celtics in 7.
Okay. And then we did Grizzlies T-Wolves. I'm saying Grizzlies in, we'll say 5, 6, maybe. I'll say 6. I'll give them some credit. Say 6.
Retweet.
Okay. Retweet.
I'll go Grizz in 5.
Okay. Then 3 versus 4 in the East. That's what? That is
76ers
Bucks
versus Raptors, or 3
no,
versus
it's
6.
Bucks versus Bulls.
Yeah.
We'll go Bucks in 4 for me.
Bucks in 4.
Yeah.
Nah, Bucks in 5.
Okay. Would that be the Bulls' first win against a good team if they got
It would
that would be the Bulls' first good win of the season.
That's hilarious. That's a hilarious stat. And then we got that's Warriors versus Nuggets It sounds like Curry is questionable for game 1, but should make an appearance in the series. I think
I have such a hard time picking this series, dude. We don't know how healthy Curry's going to be.
Yeah.
I do not think people are. I know they're hurt, dude. I think the Nuggets can at least make it a challenge with an injured Curry for sure.
pick the Nuggets then. Pick them.
I don't know.
This is your upset. This is your upset. This is your chance. So we don't all have chalk. I'm going Warriors. I do agree, Matt, that it makes it tough. We'll say Warriors in 6, and Curry starts to turn it on towards the end.
Yeah, it's so hard to win a playoff series without like a really good second offensive creator. And even though like all the Warriors guys are sketchy in the aggregate between like the shot making of Poole and Clay and the facilitating of Draymond, they just have so much more that is like really high level in the Nuggets. So I would probably go Dubs in 6. Like if Jokic wins that series, my mind is blown because we saw what happened last
year. He always overperforms in the playoffs, man. He always gets his team farther than they're supposed to.
He's unreal because he's the legend.
He's unreal because he's a legend.
I'm spitting, bro. I'm on a roll.
Matt, what is your pick?
I'll go Warriors in 7.
Okay.
I don't have the guts to. I mean, it all comes down to how healthy Curry is.
We'll probably talk about all this again by the podcast
Right.
and make all these. So
Got
by
more
that
time to stew
by the
on.
time that happens, I expect this pick to be different. Logan.
All right.
Yeah, I think Dubs in 6. I also think, just to add on what Carson was saying, I just think they have a higher defensive peak too. I think that we're going to
100%.
I think the Warriors are going
Yeah.
to be a top 3 defense in the playoffs this year.
Okay.
It'd be interesting how they guard Jokic, though. Very interesting.
Put Draymond on him.
They should.
Yeah, why not? I guess.
Looney's getting murdered publicly.
I'll put Wiseman on Jokic. How does that sound?
Draymond on Jokic is like such a fun matchup. Those are just like two chess master. Like Draymond would just talk shit. I don't even know what kind of shit you would talk to Jokic. Like he doesn't like do anything. He just like is out there. He's so funny because it's like
Bring up the headband.
Nick Wright is someone who will shit on Jokic, and I think the only reason he does it is because he knows that Jokic just does not care and will never like correct him or say anything. Like that's why Jokic is kind of an easy target to be like hated, because he's not going to be like KD and be like, well, I hate your guts and here's why you're wrong. But anyway, then we got Jazz Mavs, and we don't know when Luka is coming back. At least I haven't seen anything about it. I picked the Jazz anyway. I think they give it one last hurrah before getting blown up and eliminated. They've got one last gasp. And if Luka's out, then I am cheating and everything. But I'm going to say Jazz, and I don't know how many because I don't know. But Jazz anyway. Jazz no matter what.
If Luka was healthy, I think I would genuinely go Mavs in 5. That's how confident I am in the Mavs in the series. If he's not out there, yeah, I mean, the Mavs are dead in the water.
Yeah.
If he's out there though, I'll go Mavs in 5. I just think the Mavs are phenomenal.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Luka's going to have to carry such a heavy load right off of an injury is like part that's a little concerning. I'd still go Mavs in 7. I just think like they've been the better two-way team for a while. They have the best player on the floor. The Jazz have just been really trending in the wrong direction, but the Jazz still have a lot of real quality players. And like,
Mitchell always plays well in the playoffs.
he always balls out, as does Luka, of course. But like in the shooting of the Jazz, I mean, the Jazz were still the best offense in the league this year, and they have a pretty high defensive ceiling. It's regressed a bit, but obviously the Gobert factor is real, although maybe not as much against the Mavs, just matchup wise. But I think the Mavs are slightly better with Luka.
And then
I'll probably go Mavs in 7. But like
I'll go Jazz in 7.
I really think that the Luka, and it's just if the Luka injury is legit and he's like playing hurt game 1, yeah, I think because of how much he's going to have to do, and it's the type of injury that's easy to nag again. And this is, I mean, what exactly was it again? It was
calf strain.
Yeah, calf strain. That is, I mean, I'm no doctor, but that's easy to re-injure. That can,
Yeah, 100%.
So
I am a doctor, and that is easy to re-injure. Your instincts are correct.
Dude,
And then we already talked about 76ers Raptors. I'm going Sixers in 7. I think it goes
Give me
down to the wire,
Sixers
though.
and 6.
That is why they call them the Sixers.
Nice.
Sixers and 6. I also just want to add on the Mavs point. Yeah, Luka's number 1 in turnovers per game and points per game for his career in the playoffs. Just insane usage rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll end up playing the Clippers again. It's destiny. Whoever has to win what to get there, it's gonna happen.
Second round, baby.
Would that be when that happens?
Yeah.
Yeah. Clippers beat the Suns casually.
Casually, just like that. No, Pelicans eliminating the Clippers. Well, I think that just about does it for our NBA Live. Thank you guys. Thank you, Nerd Sesh, for joining us. Great content, good discussion. Good job, Logan and Carson.
Dude, thank you for having us, guys. This was an honor for real.
Yeah, thank you guys. This was super fun.
Of course. And yeah, thank you everybody who watched it. As always, nice to not just be me and Matt. And it also helps the conversation stay on basketball instead of us talking about, world politics for the last half an hour of the thing or whatever is the topic. So yeah, thank you all for watching. And that probably about does it. See you next week for another NBA Live.